All right, let's bring in our panel to get their thoughts on this breaking news. Gemma Tognini from GT Communications and Sky News contributor Carolyn DeRusso join me now. Thank you so much for coming on tonight here. Gemma, let's start with you. The decision to finally announce this inquiry was inevitable. How did you read what has come out of the Prime Minister's office today? Was it too little too late, or is there some cause for hope in all of this?
James, I'm always the one who looks for hope, as you probably well know. I agree with your editorial in the sense that it is so much better than what we sort of feared in terms of reference and things like that. I'll let Caroline talk to the appointment of Virginia Bell, because I'm not a lawyer. But what I will say is this is not, I mean, if the Prime Minister expects us to think he's done deep reflection, I think he's taking us for a bunch of mugs, because this is a Prime Minister who has been dragged kicking, screaming, reluctant and, you know, in every other way resistant to the idea of exposing his government to scrutiny over how we got to Bondi. I'm usually the person who congratulates a government or a person who changes their tack, but in this case I don't, and I'll tell you why. Because as you said, it was 25 days, and not just 25 days, but 25 days of the Prime Minister gaslighting the population and saying, you know, oh, no, you won't get what you need from a Royal Commission. It would be too sensitive. The victims might be triggered. We're not going to do that. You know, the real experts. So, like, my question to the Prime Minister would be, have the actual experts he's been hiding behind the last couple of weeks changed their mind? I mean, it's just a shemozzle, and he's not a strong leader. He's been missing in action. This is a good outcome for Australians, for all of us, because we might get the answers that we need and we know how much is at stake. But it is not a good outcome for the Prime Minister. This is a capitulation. This is not conviction. This is capitulation.
And Caroline, you are a trained lawyer. You've practiced as a lawyer. What is your reaction legally to what's just come out here? I've said in my editorial that the devil is going to be in who the lawyers who wind up being counsel assisting and who work for this wind up being. Do you buy this road to Damascus conversion?
Well, I don't think it's a road to Damascus conversion. I think it is, you know, it's rolling the proverbial in glitter and trying to make the most of it and pretend that it's leadership. But it is better than what the alternative was, which was simply just the departmental review. And I think, look, if nothing else comes from this, we're highlighting a very significant issue. We'll be highlighting it on the national stage, and like you said, this here is, you know, a Royal Commission can compel evidence and the production of documents and all sorts of things which no other review can do. So it will bring to the surface a lot of uncomfortable things for a lot of people, and I think it's really important we have this conversation. As far as Virginia Bell goes, okay, she may not have a particular subject matter specialty in national security, but she sat on appellate courts for a very long time, and so she would have dealt with these sorts of matters in the course of sitting particularly on those appellate courts. And you're never going to get, there's no such thing as the perfect judge, right, for anything at all, but she is incredibly experienced. And I note that some people, you know, probably have some reservations, but I think it's best that she's given a go. And as far as, you know, the lawyers and the other people who are involved, it will be whatever it will be, but no doubt some very interesting things will rise to the top, and they're the things that particularly the journalistic profession needs to be ready for, so that the rest of Australia can know what's actually going on here.
Yes, we all know what rises to the top. Hey, I want to move on to another topic here, some other news tangentially related to this. The Adelaide Festival has cancelled the scheduled appearance of outspoken author Randa El-Fattah. In a statement they released today, the festival said, "We have today advised scheduled writer Dr. Randa Abdel-Fattah that the board has formed the judgment that we do not wish to proceed with her scheduled appearance at next month's Writers' Week." Gemma Tognini, this is a woman who has been involved in some, shall we say, fairly controversial and colorful statements about the Israel-Palestine conflict. Do you think that groups that are in the arts, such as the people organizing this festival, are starting to wake up now, finally, to the problem that results from platforming some of these views?
I hope so, is the short answer. It's always extraordinary to me, James, that the art sector, I mean, it's a walking contradiction. It's the people that, down with capitalism, but gosh, you better fund us, mining companies and, big production companies, you better fund us because, no, but seriously, these are the people who want to smash capitalism, but without the profit that comes from capitalism that pays taxes that fund them or gives direct grants for them to actually exist. They would just be, doing skits in their backyard. So I think they're actually a bunch of, heavily entitled people to start with. But in relation to this, it is extraordinary to me that it has taken so long for something like this to happen. Flip the switch and imagine any other author or artist saying the things of the nature that Dr. Fattah has said about another cohort, and it is a two-speed economy in the art sector, according to me. I think this is a wise decision by the festival, and for those kind of going, oh, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequences. That is the beauty of a democracy. So, bravo to the Adelaide Festival, and may we see more of this sort of even-keeled approach to, the people who love a safe space. It can't be just a safe space for the people you want to be safe and everybody else gets pummeled. If you want to go into that, you know what I mean? It's just this ridiculous But I was just going to say, Caroline, though, too, because there's this whole issue of this Royal Commission on Social Cohesion. If the arts and academia, Carol, are undermining social cohesion with platforming radical views on the left. I mean, the Prime Minister loves to talk about radicalism on the right, but they've got to face up to this radicalism on the left. Yeah, 100% they do. And I think, and I don't know the reason for this decision, but, we look at the consequences that flowed after the Sydney Theatre Company incident. And there was a huge issue post then in relation to donations and funding and attendances and all those sorts of things. And like I said, I don't know the basis for the decision, but I can only think that the risks were weighed up by the people who are responsible here to say, well, we know the things that she has said before. In the current environment, are we comfortable with dealing with the backlash of that? Because ultimately, she wouldn't be the person to suffer from the consequences. No. The organisers of the event would. And are they happy to deal with that? And I would say Indeed. That they probably got to the point where they were like, nah, actually, we're not. And look, and finally, I just want to end our panel on a little fun note here. Bondi terror attack hero Ahmed Al-Ahmed, well, he's in New York now for further treatment as he touched down and was met with by the media on the tarmac. He's a global phenomenon now, and he shared these thoughts. Have a listen to this.
Will you guys see Mr. Trump while you're here?
We'll see.
I wish. You want to see him?
He's a hero, of course, of the world. I love him. He's a strong man.
Well, I'm sure Anthony Albanese would have loved hearing that. But Caroline and Gemma, do we think it is time to reach out to the White House? Mr. Trump, if you're watching, Mr. President, schedule a meeting with Ahmed Al-Ahmed.
I'd do it just to see all of the massive, tantrums and head explosions that would result in that. I mean, I'm here for the lols, James. I'm all for it.
Absolutely. I've got nothing to add to that. I totally agree. I reckon the meltdown would just be superb.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Gemma Tognini, Caroline DeRusso. Really appreciate your time.